Hello, thank you for joining with me. We are in chapter 29 with the Course Companions reading group headed by Emily Bennington. We're reading out of A Course in Miracles, the complete and annotated edition, edited by Robert Perry. And we are on section 3, the body's nothingness. If you'd like to close your eyes and join me in prayer. Dear Father, if left to my own devices, my perception will be skewed. I surrender to you everything that I think and feel. God, please take my past, plan my future, send your spirit to redeem my mind that I might be set free. May I be your channel, God, and serve the world. May I become who you would have me be, do what you would have me do, go where you would have me go, and say what you would have me say, and to whom, dear God. God, I thank you for my many, many blessings. Amen. The body's nothingness. Such is the promise of the living God. His Son have life, and every living thing be part of him, and nothing else have life. What you have given life is not alive, and symbolizes but your wish to be alive apart from life, alive in death, with death perceived as life and living, death. Confusion follows on confusion here, for on confusion has this world been based, and there is nothing else it rests upon. Its basis does not change, although it seems to be in constant change. But what is that except the state of confusion? Really means? Footnote 7. Confusion is a state in which your mind, being bewildered or unclear, constantly jumps around from one possibility to the next, because it has no fixed certainty. This continual surface change means that the underlying basis for your mental state, confusion, has not changed. Jesus says here that the world itself has this same characteristic. Its basis does not change, although it seems to be in constant change, because the world is actually based on confusion, the confusion of life and death. And back to the text. Stability to those who are confused is meaningless, and shift and change become the law on which they predicate their lives. The body does not change. It represents the larger dream that change is possible. To change is to attain a state unlike the one in which you found yourself before. There is no change in immortality, and heaven knows it not. Yet here on earth it has a double purpose, for it can be made to teach opposing things, and they reflect the teacher who is teaching them. The body can appear to change with time, with sickness, or with health, and with events that seem to alter it. And this but means the mind remains unchanged even in its belief of what the purpose of the body is. Sickness is a demand the body be a thing that it is not. Its nothingness is guarantee that it cannot be sick. In your demand that it be more than this lies the idea of sickness, for it asks that God be less than all he really is. What then becomes of you? For it is you of whom this sacrifice is asked. For he is told that part of him belongs to him no longer. He must sacrifice for yourself. And in his sacrifice you made more. Footnote 8. You are apparently made more because you have acquired your own separate, independent identity. Back to the text. As he is lessened by the loss of you, and what is gone from him becomes your God, protecting you from being part of him. Footnote 9. What is gone from him becomes your God seems to refer to both yourself from the previous sentence and to the body from the following sentence. the body that is asked to be God. In other words, your separate self and the body, the symbol of that self, are bound together. Together they become your God, and together they mean that God has apparently had to undergo the loss of you. The body that is asked to be a God will be attacked because its nothingness has not been recognized, and so it seems to be a thing with power in itself. As something it can be perceived and thought to feel and act and hold you in its grasp as prisoner to itself. And it can fail to be what you demanded it to be. And you will hate it for its littleness, unmindful that the failure does not lie in that it is not more than it should be, but only in your failure to perceive that it is nothing. Footnote 10. Hating your body for failing to be what you demanded it to be results in sickness, as is implied in the previous paragraph. Sickness is a demand the body be a thing that it is not. Back to the text. Yet its nothingness is your salvation, from which you would flee. As something, and that's quoted, is the body asked to be God's enemy, replacing what he is with littleness and limit and despair. It is his loss you celebrate when you behold the body as a thing you love or look upon as a thing you hate. For if he be the sum of everything, then what is not in him does not exist, and his completion is its nothingness. Your Savior is not dead, nor does he dwell in what was built as temple unto death. He lives in God, and it is this that makes him Savior unto you, and only this. His body's nothingness releases yours from sickness and from death. For what is yours cannot be less, nor more than what is his. And we will now read the commentary by Robert Perry. This is Robert Perry's commentary. Day 334, Section 3, The Body's Nothingness. I am struck by just how much the text focuses on the body and on sickness. Have you noticed this too? I think it's safe to say that if our own daily practice of the Course leaves those two things out of the picture, we are avoiding core elements of its teaching. Many of us would like to ignore our bodies, but we need to be honest. Our body stands at the center of our experience in life. As such, it seems like a very big deal. Imagine making a list of the things we have to deal with relative to it. Its hunger, its thirst, its comfort, its shelter, its aches, its pains, its health, its weight, its clothing, its cleanliness, its appearance, its fitness, its hair. The list could go on and on. As such, the body seems supremely important. Its state is a constantly changing roller coaster, and we seem to be along for the ride. Yet, Jesus says that the body's changes really signify that underneath them, there is a foundation in the mind that stays the same. That foundation, he says, is a deep confusion of life and death. We believe life in the body is actual life, when in fact it is death. Real life is the unbounded, unchanging vitality of the spirit. In contrast to that life, life in the body is like being shut up inside a tomb. This deep confusion of life and death produces constant surface variation, because that's what confusion is, a state that remains constant while entailing constant surface variation, as the mind lurches here and there trying to settle on a view. Another way of talking about the current mental foundation for the body is the belief that the body is something. Who doesn't have this belief? Surely, regardless of our different perspectives on our body, we can all agree that our body is something. Yet that belief is the very thing Jesus is challenging in this section. Let's see how far we can go with him. The first effect of believing the body is something is that it asks that God be less than all that he really is. How is this? The idea is that we are literally a part of God. Our mind is continuous with his. Yet we want to be more than a mere part of some greater being. We want to be our own separate, independent being. We therefore want the body to be something so that it can draw a solid iron wall around our mind, separating us off from God. The body, then, is seen as a kind of cookie cutter which removes our bit of dough from the general mass. And now there appears to be a hole in God. We shouldn't see this as mere abstract theory. Deep down, we view our own body as this cookie cutter, with the result that it seems to have removed our piece from God's being, leaving a hole in him. It's a bit of a frightening thought, isn't it? The second effect of believing the body is something is that, having granted it power, we now hate it for what it has supposedly done to us. It has removed us from God. It has made us a prisoner inside its little coffin. It has failed to deliver the happiness we thought it would. It has shrunk us from being a vast divine spirit to being a sluggish little amobia. The cookie cutter, in other words, has cut both ways. The same cut that was supposed to make us more has brought us low. So now we blame the body for cutting us out of God's mind, and that the heat of that blame, as I said the other day, makes the body sick. This, then, is the challenge Jesus lays before us. Don't hate your body. Don't love your body. Don't see it as to be hated or loved. See it as nothing. It can't do any of those things from the previous paragraph. It hasn't made you little. It hasn't cut you out of God's mind. You're still there exactly as before. And the key to draining all sense of somethingness out of our body, Jesus implies, is doing that with our brother's body. We need to tell ourselves every day and throughout each day that he does not live in that tomb. He lives in God. The cookie cutter never did its work on him, and his unchanged oneness with God is the proof of ours. And there is forgiveness. Thank you so much for joining with me on day 334 of the Course Companions Reading Schedule, Section 3, The Body's Nothingness. I love you. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.